Why do people say that sons are easier to raise than daughters? People tend to stop parenting boys as they get older. So it's easier, because they don't care enough to put in the effort. Here's a recent thread that discussed this topic. www.reddit.com/r/nostupidquestions/comments/17mrjd0/why do people say it's so much easier raising People say this because they ignore the emotional needs of their male children. And it's socially acceptable to do so. I agree with everyone else who says that the emotional needs of young boys are very often neglected. Man up. Boys don't cry. But another caveat that hasn't been mentioned much. Most societies don't think we need to teach young boys basic life skills like cooking and cleaning. Meanwhile, young girls need to be taught all the household chores. I think our society fails young boys in not teaching them how to regulate and sit down with their thoughts and feelings properly, but also fail to teach them how to survive independently successfully. Because we have normalized completely failing our sons by not teaching them emotional maturity and telling them to shove all their feelings down. Society tends to not hold boys to the same behavior standards as girls. Fighting and acting out are somehow seen as more normal for boys than for girls. So if a girl fights, she is a lot more likely to get in bigger trouble for it. Girls' bodies are also policed to a far greater degree than boys' bodies. Dress codes have a lot more in them about how girls must hide some of their body parts than boys. And although a lot of boys suffer from feeling ugly or unpopular, they aren't as likely to be allowed to learn how to handle big feelings and are expected to not be emotional. This steals a huge part of the human experience from our boys, and it's wrong. Because mothers often overlook bad behavior from their boys and find it absolutely unacceptable in their girls. Women are by far harder on their girls. Because boys' emotional needs are ignored or funneled into a handful of acceptable outlets that mostly take place outside. Less effort is put into policing boys' manners and interpersonal relationships because boys will be boys. There should be no difference. But boys are discouraged from enjoying a large part of their potential spectrum of human experience. A lot of it is deemed off limits to them for fear they'll become less manly by being allowed express sadness freely or have purple as a favorite color. Before anyone comes in here with, "Not me. Not us. Not my family. Not my husband," okay. Great. That's great for you. Seriously. Don't act like it's not still the default for most of the world. My parents have told me I've been easy to raise compared to my sister. She's 28 and unemployed though, so might be unfair in my case. I don't know why, but it drives me crazy. Those are usually the same people who say awful things about having a girl. I have one of each and they both have their challenges and bright spots. Teacher here, boys are way harder in my opinion. They mean boys can't get pregnant nor shame their parents if they lose their virginity. It's absolute BS. Boys can get girls pregnant and there should be no shame if a boy or a girl loses their virginity. Also, boys can be just as emotional or more so than girls. I have one daughter and two sons and none are easier to raise than the other. It's a lot easier if you tell your son to man up and figure it out yourself, while try to shield your daughter from reality. Because the people who tout these tales ignore the emotional needs of sons and shame the emotional needs of daughters. Girls are harder to raise because of how they approach raising them compared to boys. That is never what I was told. The stereotype we learned was that boys were rough and rowdy, while little girls played nice. But girls were more expensive later on. Proms and the like. Because they largely neglect their sons. They don't teach them how to wipe their ass. They don't teach them basic life skills such as cooking or cleaning. They don't teach them how to process or feel emotions. They don't teach them how to relate to other people and take other people's feelings into consideration. They don't teach them how to socialize. People say that sons are easier to raise because they neglect their sons. They don't raise them at all. I wish people would start raising boys to the same standard as girls. Don't even get me started. I think it's tied to the sexist idea that every girl will end up being a terror because hormones. I raised 3 daughters, and it wasn't bad. I don't know what those people are talking about. You can debate over the proper word to describe it, but sexism, toxic masculinity or something. It's a bad belief to hold regardless of how you describe it. I feel like it may be becoming less common, but there needs to be more effort put into emotional needs of boys. Because people don't actually raise their sons.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.